10, 9.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Get ready for two guys who can't handle the truth.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
But we can. Dave Palumbo, Chris Aceto. RxMuscle.com presents Heavy Muscle Radio. Watch out!
Welcome to another episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm joined, as always, by the technician, direct from Orlando, Florida, where the Mr. Olympia competition just let out on this, well, I guess it's technically December 20th, but it's this is our December 21st, 2020 show. Chris, you were there, front row. Big Ramy brings home the Olympia crown. Finally, I don't think we ever thought it was going to happen, but he did it. Tell me when he first came out, what was your initial impression of Ramy?
Let me just please, Dave, say thank you so much to Dan Solomon and Jake Wood for the unbelievable seats. I've never had Olympia seats like that. And I've never had access like that to backstage. None of it. Dave, the seats were unbelievable.
Great. Look, Dan said he was going to take care of us, so.
And he did.
Yeah.
There's so many storylines in the show. Of course, the show, Ramy, when he first came out, the impression was that he was huge and, looked like he had the potential to dominate the show. But, you had to see what other people look like, of course, at the same time. I mean,
it appeared to me.
His condition was really good, but he's never, he's never going to have the condition of like a Hardy Chupin. So I think we have to eliminate from our minds this idea that he's going to be like Munzer or, how Hardy has a crazy detail, or even like Dexter at his best with detail on detail. That's not the physique he's got. So, he played up his strengths, which was, size, and he had the really good condition to be able to highlight that size. And I have to say, the judge and, they worked these guys and, they gave people the opportunity to, for the most part, I mean, there are a few people I thought were overlooked, two people in particular, but they gave the top.
Who was overlooked in your mind?
Bonac and Akeem Williams, period.
Now, was Bonac overlooked because, to me, at the prejudging, he was not what he was at the night show?
No, he was.
He was a little flatter, I thought.
He was. Well, he didn't have enough oil on in prejudging, I would say, and that may have gave that look. But I can tell you from being in possibly the best seats in the house when he came out and did his mandatories, he was full blown. Compact, maybe that might be the negative, short.
Okay. But
full compact, crazy dense. I mean, pound for pound, dense for dense. He carried perhaps, as much muscle as anyone on stage.
Where would you have liked to seen him fall?
I would have liked to, if he had, and we need to talk about Akeem too, but if he had like a call out, I know they don't do that, but next to Brandon. Just Brandon and Bonac, I think he would give, Brandon something to sweat about. And even same thing for Phil. If it was just him versus Phil, his muscles are much denser here than Phil, much more solid looking. The all-important glutes, hamstring were crazy glutes, crazy hamstring detail from the side. Just embodies the word rugged, and that's the way he looked at prejudge and finals. It's he just didn't get, they kept him on the edge the whole time. On that he didn't get a chance to stand in between, let's say, a Phil and a Brandon, because he's got more muscle than Phil and Brandon right now, and he's more dense than both of them, and his condition was as good. I would say as good. I wouldn't say better. It's a different look.
You know, I guess, Bonak's worst thing he's got going for him is that he's shorter than everyone else.
Yeah.
Not that that's a bad thing necessarily, because he's very dense, but I mean, when you're standing next to Big Ramy, I mean, right? I mean, when Ramy's not the guy you're going up against, and you're going against Phil and Brandon, you stack up a lot better when you're short, right? But when you're going against Big Ramy, okay, as the main guy, you kind of can get lost, right? And I made this point. Lee Priest and I did a live stream right after the show was over, and I said to him, I said, Lee, moving forward now, is this going to become the era of now everyone's going to chase Ramy, which is the mass monster, which we had back with Ronnie and Dorian and Jay?
Well, in our wrap up, that's exactly word for word what.
Right? Because now you're going to have the Ian Vallieres and the Akeem Williams who are going to start packing more mass on and chasing Ramy, right?
Okay, well, that's what Patrick Moore said in the wrap up, which we did a really good wrap up. But that ties in good with what's interesting me and disappointing on behalf of like Akeem Williams is here's Ramy, the mass monster, in really good condition, winning the show, putting his foot down. I'd imagine at the night show, probably straight first, maybe, in prejudging as well. I don't know.
Ramy had straight first. I just checked the scorecard. Yeah.
So, because on the tail end of prejudging, he started to overwhelm people. So straight ones don't surprise me, but the next mass monster in that lineup, really, and the next freak in that lineup was Akeem.
Yeah.
So, Akeem, I think, would favorably line up not with Ramy, but with Brandon, with Phil. He had a lot of freak factor, and when he came out, the audience responds. We love freaks. When Ramy comes out, people go nuts. When Bonak, came out by himself, people really like, whoa. Of course, Phil and Brandon, because their physiques too and who they are, what they've accomplished. But when Akeem came out, I think people like sat on the edge of their chairs, and you could hear people, the whoa, that he really was impressive.
Well, we've been look. I've worked with Akeem from when he started. I mean, we knew, you and I mean, from all the years of reporting on Akeem, he was going to arrive eventually. with the way he was lifting, the weights he was lifting, with the structure. He
did this show. This was his arrival show. Yeah. This is
I think he arrived when he won the last show. To qualify for here too.
Yeah, and I think that mentally put him in a good driver's seat.
Yeah.
And I think you're right about Ramy is people have to. They're not going to beat him on. Oh, good. We gave so and so the Olympia on a lot of striations and detail over Ramy's mass, so people got to start getting bigger.
Ruley Winkler, that's the guy who that's the guy who can challenge Ramy, right? He's the guy who has the mass.
Rolly was my I was saying over and over and over that Rolly was my dark horse, and I said Ramy, he's actually, bigger than Ramy in the side chest, upper body, bigger than Ramy in the side tricep, upper body. I don't even know if that's true anymore. I think Ramy's probably bigger as big, if not bigger than Rolly in the upper body, and forget the legs, So
they have a different type of physique, but Ruley has a lot of freak factor that I think would bode well against a Big Ramy on stage.
For pure entertainment value, where the crowd would love to see is Ramy and Rolly at Rolly's absolute biggest and best or hardest, as opposed to Ramy versus, let's say in this case tonight, second and third.
Ramy best side chest in bodybuilding now?
Best side chest, best side tricep.
Yeah. Although I thought Brandon Curry's side tricep was equally as good in its own way.
It was in its own way, but you know what, you're talking about probably a 40, 50, 60. There's probably a 40-pound difference between those two.
Right.
So, I
but there's always going to be a 40-pound difference between Ramy and everyone else. You know that. 30 pounds.
I'm in a hotel room that's really beautiful, but I'll take the bigger one for sure. The bigger room, anytime over the smaller room, even if the smaller one looks a little bit better than.
So, are you saying Ramy's unbeatable if he keeps coming in the best shape of his life?
He is going to be hard to beat physically, and I mentioned that. I see this thing on the internet all the time. The hardest thing to do is every millionaire has always said, my hardest thing to do is make the first 100,000. It just took me like years to save 100, but after that,
right.
And I think the hardest thing to do, obviously, the hardest thing to do for Ramy has been to win this show.
Mm-hmm.
But once you win it, right? It took Jay a long time. It took Coleman a long time. The only one it didn't take a long time was like Phil and Haney and Dorian. But I mean, the point is, you put demons to rest, and you can't tell me that anyone. When you're.
Well, he knows the process now, Chris. He can repeat the process as long as Dennis James keeps his house open to him.
It's not even about the process. It's
of course it is. It has to be about the process because he never got in this great a shape before.
It's not about the process necessarily. It is about, if I can finish, when you were trying for 8 years, he's been trying to win the show.
Yeah.
You obviously, because you keep coming back, you believe in yourself. But there's demons of self-doubt, like maybe I can't do it. And when you finally do it, like when you finally get to that $100,000 mark, the mindset changes. So Ramy from December 21st going forward is going to be a different Ramy from last year going forward, or the year before when he didn't do well going forward, simply because, yes, there's the process, but two, there's the mental confidence that, okay, I've done this once. There's less unknowns going forward.
You know what though, Chris, and people could criticize all they want. When we said a couple of weeks ago, when we saw that Dennis James had got taken Ramy into his house and was going to train him the last 3 weeks, make sure he did everything right, and you said they were panicking. And people they've been going crazy with this whole thing with the panicking. And I know Chad was upset with it and Dennis was upset with it. Not personally, because we're friends with these guys. So, I mean, they just were maybe professionally, upset with it. But the truth of the matter is, and I believe this wholeheartedly, that the fact that Ramy came to the United States early, which was the smart move, Ruley should have done the same thing. And Dennis James was nice enough to let him stay in his house for 3 weeks. Because I don't think I would have let him stay in my house for 3 weeks, every 24 hours a day. I probably would have gotten divorced. Is a testament to the fact that Ramy was in a very controlled environment and helped keep him mentally focused on what the goal was. And so, in a sense, if you want to think that maybe Ramy was panicked and that's why he went, and that's why he tried even harder, because he wanted to prove everyone, hey, I can do this, and Dennis was like, I know Ramy can do this. I'm going to help him do this. And the whole team of them, the three of them, got him in the best shape of his life. So in a sense, you and I saying that they were in panic, or you saying that, and me agreeing that they were in panic mode, maybe caused him to be the best that he's ever been, in a sense. Maybe Ramy now understands what he has to go through, pain, suffering, and sacrifice-wise, to be the best. I don't think he ever had to do that before. And now he's done it, and he knows the process. That's why I said the process. And now he can repeat it, because now it's not so bad. He's done it once before. And if he keeps repeating this process, he'll win, like you said, until someone comes along who's better. But I don't know if there's anyone better out there at this point.
Well, there's to win the Olympia, you have to, you just have to bring something really special. And, in this lineup, who's going to come back next year with what special are they going to bring to be able to, were they going to grow their legs as big as Ramy's?
There hasn't been anyone for the last 5 years that really could have beat Ramy had Ramy showed up the way we wanted him to, or the way we knew he could. Right? I mean, he basically he gave these guys a free pass for the last 5 or 6 years, maybe even. Right?
Yeah. Well, that and this does not negate what so the retards don't have to go crazy. I mean, yes, he's left some, as Cormier would say, something on the table, but I mean, this is not the Phil. This is like the cameo version of Phil.
Well, Ramy could be better, and that's good because that leaves the door open to coming back next year even better, right?
And he has the ability to get better.
What now? Would you like to see him lighter, or what would you like to see better?
He could be. The only time that you could see that he wasn't being challenged, but there's something where he could improve is when they put Hadi Chopin next to him at night. Yeah. Hadi didn't compare he compared well with him, but you could clearly see the difference in terms of maturity and detail.
Yeah.
Hadi Chopin a lot from the front lat spread, front double, side chest, side tricep. For somebody who's given up 60 pounds to Ramy,
he held his own.
There's a lot of detail there that you definitely, your eyes eventually go back to Ramy, of course. They start with Ramy, go to Hadi, and you say, wow, Hadi looks really good in these shots next to Ramy. Your eyes go back to Ramy, but surprisingly, they come off him to look and take a strong look at Hadi, and that has to do with muscle maturity and detail that, Ramy's got low body fat, low water retention, but the only criticism on him would be, meaning where could he improve, is have that detail that Hadi had, or the detail that Phil used to have.
Yeah. Ramy was this was the first year too, that the guy who actually won the Mr. Olympia actually was also the people's champ. So the people and the judges agreed this year.
Yeah. There was that was the electoral college and the popular. He won the electoral college, the judges, and the popular vote.
Yeah. You really, what's kind of sad about the whole thing from Brandon's perspective, because I kind of feel for him. Brandon wins the Olympia last year. He comes back better than he was last year, bigger, improved, and it's not enough to win the title, to defend his title. That's got to hurt, because you know what? And I know Brandon took it in stride, and he's one of these guys that doesn't let anything affect him. But it's got to hurt when you're your best and you're Mr. Olympia and you don't win the title. I kind of had a little I wanted to see him win in a sense. I wanted to see Ramy win because I've been waiting for Ramy for so long. But at the same time, I actually was I felt like I was cheering for Brandon almost.
Yeah, I mean, why cry for Brandon? I mean, you're up against.
Well, because I like the guy, and I like his physique, and I think he did everything he had to do. He couldn't really do too much more.
Yeah, I mean, he was, he was more conditioned than he was last year, and of course the knock against him was a condition, so he fixed that. He came in, from behind last year. There was a lot of criticism about he just wasn't Olympian level tight enough, and of course that comes from his predecessors having, Sean and Phil having crazy glutes and hams, so having to follow that. The knock against him was the glutes and hams, and his glutes and hams were absolutely as dialed as they possibly could be. It's just a matter of, it's still a muscle show, and you're going against somebody with, a lot more.
Yeah. Let's put it this way. What advice would you give to Brandon Curry? Moving forward now, from here, what does he have to do? I mean, does he have to try to gain 20 pounds of muscle to go against Ramy? I mean, What do you do with a physique like that?
Well, he needs 10.
Yeah. Can he do it at his age?
Can he do it?
Yeah.
I mean, he's already added the 20 in the last 5. So, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to move the needle once you've, once you've improved and improved and improved. I mean, it's not the same guy as 5. So, getting to that next mark, it's just really a challenge. Every 2 pounds is extremely difficult of real muscle.
Right.
So,
Let me throw another monkey wrench in there. I like to ask Chris these scenarios. I don't know why, but I like your opinion on these scenarios. Sean Roden, let's say he comes back next year. His case is settled. How does Sean Roden stack up against Big Ramy now? This new Big Ramy.
It just which Sean.
And Roden? That's your horse in the race. So I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, well, it's already crossed my mind, and Phil's old and Sean's old. So, I mean. And Phil took off and Sean's been off, but in a made up world, you're comparing. It's like saying, how would Phil 2012 do in this lineup?
Right.
2013 in this lineup. It's like Sid asked me after prejudging, can Phil come back tomorrow night? Like he did in 15 when he was neck and neck with Sean. I said that was 5 years ago, dude. No.
Yeah.
Because you're 5 years older. So I already thought it through, and a lot of it is, age related and rust, It
didn't look like Phil put the muscle back that he needed to put back to get back on stage, if that makes sense.
Phil made, we had alluded to on this radio show, or I did. I thought the worst mistake Phil could do was to be so conscious about his midsection.
Oh, he was almost fidgeting with it on stage, right?
He was, so that he would try to streamline it by not eating a lot and getting blown out big with an off season, thinking, okay, I got to come in. They've told me streamline. They've told me streamline. They've told me streamline. And then you streamline that midsection, which means don't get gigantic. So when he came out in prejudging, he wasn't a big version of Phil. And when Phil is not big, the knock against him is Phil is narrow. That showed up. Yeah. And the narrowness against Ramy killed him.
Yep. His legs even looked down in size, almost like maybe he wasn't squatting or something like that, to keep his waist small.
I'll tell you this, Dave. I bet the person with the lowest amount of body fat on the stage was Phil. I believe that. The things do not drive through because there's less stuff doing the driving. There's less muscle there.
Yeah.
So that, the total volume was not there, so it didn't look as impressive when things flexed. So I know he didn't have the muscle that he had in years past, and it's a muscle show, and that's what hurt him. But condition wise, people would say it's not his best condition either, and he probably thought, God, I'm lean, but it doesn't show when
the muscle wasn't stretching out the skin the way it should have, because he didn't have as much muscle. I know what you're saying. And you know what the truth is? You're right. He was very self-conscious of the midsection, which was I felt nervous watching him on stage because he was so self-conscious of it. Like he was almost touching it and like pushing it, trying to put his hand in front of it, and too much. So it was like fidgety. Yeah. And you know what? For a guy who was so genetically blessed, and who everything came so easy to in bodybuilding, this had to be very frustrating for Phil to be on stage like this, because he was had a handicap that he never had before, that he was fighting on stage. He couldn't just be himself and let it all hang out like, hey, this is me and I'm the best, and you can't beat me. He almost had to try to play trickery, do tricks on stage to hide things. And that's never a good way to have to, whenever you're kind of tentative about what you're doing, it shows. And the energy of what you're doing also shows, and he felt tentative. Do you think the third place was I hate to say this, no pun intended, a gift for him?
No, I don't think it was a gift. I mean, he still looked, you know, he still looked, you know, good from the back, good in the side chest, even though he hits it from the different side now. Good in the most muscular when he hit it. He didn't hit it that aggressively.
No.
It was very
he should never have done the some of the versions of the most muscular he did, because they weren't flattering to him.
Yeah. He had like one. Yes, it's like weird how the combos, how it put them together. And
he should have just crabbed it up, every single time.
Yeah, totally agree. And he never had. There was at no point in prejudging, even coming out by himself, that he exuded confidence. Which, in the press conference, he exuded like, I'm here. It's still me. Yeah. I'm Phil. I'm ready to go. And by the time he got on stage, he didn't show any type of level of Phil Heathness that he had. I don't know if he just realized, like, backstage, wow, these guys are big too, or maybe I'm not as, for whatever reason, he didn't have confidence on stage. Maybe he saw Ramy and who knows, and thought like, okay, this guy's in shape, and he's gigantic,
right.
I'm gonna have hands full, and he didn't, and he never fought like he did in past,
Yeah. Well, so you thought third place was deserved?
Yeah, he him and Brandon, like, they're similar, that could have flip-flopped maybe, second, third. What does the judges show there? Straight thirds for Phil?
Phil Heath, he got fourth place actually at the night show, but he had a pretty low score at the prejudging. He was a solid second at prejudging.
Yeah, I mean, that's why they lined him up for second. Who jumped over him, and Hardy at the night show?
Good question.
Because Hardy.
Yeah, Hardy had second place votes. He was second at the night show.
He looked like he was second. What I say when they put him next to. Listen, when you put, it doesn't matter when you put a deflated Phil next to Ramy in this show. He just looked small, and Brandon looked small.
Yeah.
And Hardy, smallish too, but less small because of his real high level of crazy density, and he has more detail. His muscle looked fresh. So did he, it's not surprising one bit that he got second place votes at the night show.
A lot of people thought that Brandon looked better at night. I did not. I felt he looked a little smoother. And you know what? It showed in the scorecards. He had second places. He was straight seconds at the prejudging, and then the night show he was straight third. So Hardy only didn't beat him because Hardy was like fourth and fifth place votes at the prejudging. So, he was just too low in the mathematically speaking. So, but look, they were all pretty close to the top. Like you said, I mean, you could have put Akeem Williams up there, and I don't think anyone would have complained.
Yeah, yeah.
The only knock I have against, the only thing that I think Ramy has weakness-wise, and there's nothing he can really do to correct it, is he has very high lat attachments. I didn't realize it until he was so conditioned this time that you can actually see that when he hits the back double, he has very, very high lat insertions.
You know what's funny? He changed the way he hit his front double that makes his torso look longer, but his front double look better. I don't know how he used to before, but he looked like he was getting.
Well, his arms are enormous. So it doesn't even matter. I mean, his front double's fine. It's the back double I think that he's vulnerable on because of that, right? Because of the high lat insertions.
Yeah.
He has a very long torso.
I mean, to who?
Yeah. I'm saying maybe a Ruley Winkler in the future. I don't know. Maybe a Kai Green if he ever comes back, which I doubt. That'll happen. But
people are gonna get more pissed at you for saying Kai Green than me saying Ramy Panic.
Well, I'm trying to think of people who could stand with Ramy mass wise.
Nobody.
There's not that many guys out there. I think Ian Valliere, if he puts another 20 pounds on, could stand with him. I was very impressed with Ian at the show.
Yeah, and so where are we talking about now? Which guy? Ian Valliere?
Ian Valliere, who was seventh place.
New York pro, and I said, Dave, post up a picture of his back double bicep. I said, he's got the Instagram light on him. And you posted a back double, and I said, that is not Mr. Olympia conditioning. He brought Mr. Olympia conditioning in, and he was better for the night show.
It was great.
He looked really good condition, fuller than he was, without a shadow of a doubt, markedly better than he won New York.
Mm-hmm.
Markedly, in terms of he looked bigger, and his condition was from behind was 3 days and 3 nights. Was Jesus in the belly of the whale 3 days and 3 nights?
Jonas, the whale.
Jonas, Jesus, yeah, Jonas. He must have been on the treadmill for 3 days and 3 nights before the show because he was in much better condition. And this was a really good showing for him. It was just, cracking that top 6. What did he land in, about 7th? I bet
he was 7th place, yeah. But I thought he looked really, really good.
Yeah, that's where he probably, that's where he deserved to place, and that's a hard place to deserve when you're, 3 of the guys ahead of you are in the, won the Olympia.
Yeah, these are our pictures from the RxMuscle.com gallery. I mean, I thought he looked really good.
His tan was outstanding, which, he's usually a disaster tanner.
Yeah.
By the way, Dave, coming up with a new tanning product for Akeem, Bonac, and Brandon Curry. It's called Snow
Tan. The negative tan?
Yeah, it's Snow Tan. Instead of Pro Tan, where you put a coat on to make it darker, it makes you a little lighter because Brandon in prejudging, I'm serious, in prejudging, he was so dark. It was hard to see. Is he conditioned or not conditioned?
Right.
What level of condition is he in? Because he was so dark.
Well, it works to his advantage when the lighting is really good.
Yeah.
When I sit, I'm going to put up one of our pictures from the prejudging. I think this is from. Hold on. I think Brandon's front double bicep was the best of the show. You tell me if I'm wrong.
I think here is Lee Priest watching, so I can mark myself. Yeah, you know what? Probably at the end of the day, Dave, I think you're right. His front double and front lat spread on their own are the best. Of course, Ramy's lat spread negates it probably if they're side by side because of the stupid legs and stupid width. But he looked really good in the front double. He looked really good in the front lat, where juxtaposing it with Phil, who used to have the greatest front double of all time.
Yeah.
Or one of the best. Phil's hits it different. It's not the front double it used to be, and his front lat spread looks narrow. So coming out of prejudging, when you say Brandon had seconds, I would have him second, and based on many factors, but he looked really good in the front double and front lat spread.
What did you think? Yeah. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, he brought his physique up, probably since last year, in terms of quality, in terms of some detail, in terms of size, but the lineup was different,
I want to show you one picture because I thought it was Ramy in prejudging, and we've never seen this from him before. Ramy had a look on his face that I'd never seen from him before. Like he was suffering. And you know what I mean by suffering? I mean like legitimately, usually his face is all like blown out, like a little puffy, right? And he's got the puffy cheeks, and he had this hollowed out look on his face that we hadn't seen before. And when I saw that, I said, you know what? This guy freaking suffered, you know, and because he suffered, right? This is the picture. Look at that face, right? He had that look like he was like just got out of a concentration camp almost, right? Like they were torturing him for 60 days straight, you know. And that's what you need. But you need to do that, right? That's the look you should have on stage. You shouldn't be too happy. You should look like you haven't eaten in a month. You know, that's called being in shape. You know, I don't think Ramy ever went there before. I don't think he ever got to that place. You know, he never needed to. He was so good that he was beating guys at 90%. Right? We saw him win Brazil and the Arnold Brazil. We saw him win New York twice. He never was 100%. But we said, man, if he gets 100%, he's going to win the Olympia, right?
Yeah.
This is what you got to do. That look, guys. If you're competitors out there, go take a look at that look. That's the look. That's the look of being uncomfortable, of suffering, and it worked. What does Akeem have to do?
You know what Akeem has to do is Akeem has to for the best person to be in Akeem's corner is Oscar Arden.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Other people who showed up, I think, you know what, it's funny. Last year's Olympia, I was so impressed with Akeem. And he got 9th. And I thought that he should have had more solid calls. And I usually never talk to people after shows, like competitors. You know what I mean? Because I just hate the phoniness of people saying. Because one time I was backstage and I saw an official come up to Jay and say, "You got this," and then 2 seconds later come up to Ronnie and say, "You got this."
Right.
So I know how phony people can be, and I saw Akeem after the show. And I said, Akeem, you just look so impressive. You know, I just thought you should have placed higher. And it happened again this year. My personal opinion is that he did have a couple good call-outs. Where did he place after prejudging Dave?
I'll tell you in a second. He started to look very Orville Burke-esque, right? If that's the right word.
Where did he end up placing? Sorry, where was his final spot?
He was 6th.
Okay. So he did have like a good call out, but
he was 6th place straight at prejudging and night show according to the scorecard.
But what he needs to do, he needs to go back to Oscar, and Oscar can use his Deepak Chopra enhancing. I'm serious. Support him, because other people would like be shattered. And think like, what do I need to do to get a better call or better placing? He was really, I don't know if it showed up on the video, but he was really impressive. And I know people say, well, if he only had detail in his upper back, it's like,
that's what I wanted to bring up. This list shot is his best back look to date. And he's another one with very high attached lats. He's very wide though, which is what is freakish about him. And he's got a very small waist.
I'll tell you what. If you put his side chest next to Brandon and Phil's, his front double next to Brandon and Phil's, his leg next to Brandon and Phil's, they got weaknesses too.
Sure.
You know, they are not as crazy dense in a lot of shots as he is, just because he's got a back that's not peeled out of its mind. I mean, his glutes and hams are rock hard, his quads are rock hard, cross-striated pecs, huge pecs, shoulders, arms, V-taper. He's got to be like frustrated, and
I don't think he is. I think he's thrilled to make the top 6. To be honest with you, he has to be. You know what I mean? He would.
You know what the problem is, Dave?
Wow.
They I don't believe I mean I don't know, because I was watching the top 4 so much, trying to make an analysis of the top 4 towards the end. I don't think they did they bring the top 6 out for the awards, or just top 5? I think it was top 5 in the top.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not until you get to stand with Ramy, Phil, and Brandon.
No, I know what you're saying. Yeah, I know what you're saying. You're right.
And take the pictures, and
it used to be top 6 was out there. Now they only do top 5. Yeah.
So
Akeem will arrive. What do you think he should do? I think he should, although there's no Arnold actually going to be in March, but I would like to see him do the Arnold. I think an Arnold victory for him would be a huge step towards, getting into the top 3 at the Olympia. Don't you?
Yeah, I think that would, but you know what? It would, but I don't even think anymore. And I've said this since 2018 for some reason. I don't even think you could win the Arnold, and if you don't bring it again at the Olympia, judges don't give a crap.
Right, but I just think you don't think it's like a stepping stone?
No, because I think just as much as it could be a stepping stone, the judges will say, look, you brought it at the Arnold, A+, you're off here, we give you 8th. You know what I mean? Like, just calling it's like Hardy. I mean, I thought he looked like in prejudging. He looked good, but God, he certainly didn't look like he looked much better at the finals. And they're like, okay, here we go. We're going to move you right next to Ramy for the final call out. So what's that mean? It just means that they don't mean that in a negative way, care.
They judge what's up there. I mean, that Steve Weinberg has said it a million times. We can only judge what's up there.
So if there's if you won something in the past, we don't really care. We just got to judge what's there.
Yeah.
For the most part, that's usually seems what's been happening the last 2 or 3 years.
What does Hadi Chupin do now? How does he improve? I mean, the guy's got. I don't think he can really add too much more muscle to his body.
I think
without screwing it up, right?
I think he can.
I think he can.
He's got
where?
Back. This guy adds muscle to his back, and he's problematic for a lot of people. I'll tell you what, Dave. He's problematic for a lot of people. Look, did he beat Phil at night?
Yeah.
Right?
I didn't know he was hearing impaired. Did you know that?
What you say?
He's hearing. Look, you see on the back of his ears, he's got the little hearing aids.
Yeah.
Well, I guess kind of like Lou Ferrigno in a sense. I didn't know that. They announced it. They talking about it on the live stream.
Maybe why he's so good. He don't listen to anyone's bullshit.
That's right. There you go.
He is a lot more dangerous than people think, because he's the only one now with the quality of muscle from head to toe, except he was, with the quality of muscle that's dense and rugged and strided, and he has width in his front double and front lat spread, which is important, with a really tight midsection. That all is a recipe for success. And I did see, I saw Hanny backstage. Hanny Rimbaud. And Hanny told me that, I guess, he said Hardy came last minute. And, he said he just didn't look good when he got off the plane, a few days before. And, he didn't look good. He was holding a lot of water, and I guess they had pulled, he pulled a lot of water off him. And in prejudging, when I saw him, it's I thought he was getting gifts I thought in prejudging he should have been in the 5th or 6th position. Right. And I assumed, okay, that's where he's going to place. And then at the night show, I thought, God, he looks much better tonight. And then once he got going, like I said, the last call out next to Ramy, he's very impressive. And if
why is he ahead? Why did they put him ahead of Brandon at the night show? Because of the conditioning, you think?
Front double and front lat spread most muscular off the hook at night.
Yeah.
Off. Like
I think it's a conditioning thing. The biggest mistake that Brandon can make, and I think this is what he did at night, and is coming in fuller. When he's fuller and he loses that sharpness to his body, I think that he gets like a film on him. You know what I mean? I know some people thought he looked better at night, fuller. I don't think so, because I think he lost some of the sharpness he had to his physique. He's not going to outmass these guys, so he's got to outclass them, so to speak, and so that's where he loses to Hottie. Hottie comes in tighter at night, freakier. Brandon comes in bigger, but not better, and that's where I think the problem is. So, I mean, at this point, like you said, I guess he's got to make small adjustments to his body, because he doesn't want to thicken his waist. He reminds me of a Kamala Gargany type physique, right? With a little bit more height.
Yeah, they have the same midsections. It's tight, and even if it's not crazy small, it looks, because they got shoulder width, looks like tiny on stage.
Yeah.
He's got the right midsection. You don't see midsections like his anymore. He can hit front lats with the abs, and he hits a front double with the abs. And it exposes people.
Mm-hmm.
He's as dangerous as anyone.
Talk to me. We could talk about the Olympia all day. I mean, I know you guys broke it down already at the show. You guys did a great breakdown. I wanted to ask you about the 212 division, because obviously we're helping the reigning Mr. Olympia, Kamala Gargany, who arguably brought a great look into the show, better than we've seen him in the past. But we got another guy who's another Dexter Jackson in the making, right? This guy starting as a bantamweight, Sean Clarita. I've known him for years. I mean, he came to the Bros vs. Pros, and he's always, I've watched him grow from Team Universe and up through the pro ranks and everything like that. He's the new 212 champ. What was your impression of the victory?
Two things is I thought Kamal won. But when we did the wrap up and prejudge, and I coach Kamal, and I never ever when coaching someone think about someone else. I could give two craps. But when someone would say like Lunsford or George Peterson, I would tell like Jose, and I would tell other people. I said Clarita will kill these guys. So because he's improved every year.
It's a freaky shot.
Oh yeah, he's got a lot of freaky shots. I just thought why I thought Kamal won is because he was bigger, with more, with like thinner skin, with more striations. But Sean is very freaky in his own way.
Sean's got some crazy striations going on right there, Chris. These are great pictures, by the way. I got to say, I got to give props to Ralph Noble, who took some amazing pictures out there. Look at that back double, Chris. What a crazy shot that is.
Unbelievable.
And these are not these pictures are not filtered. These are
I know. He can steal these and put them on his Instagram and filter.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's Ronnie Coleman right there. At 5 foot, whatever he is,
He's phenomenal. And so, Dave, just because I thought Kamal won, that doesn't mean that
it was close. I don't think it was a blowout by any means. It was certainly very close.
Yeah, well, Kamal was ahead by a point after prejudging.
Kamal was Kamal was behind by a point after prejudging, I think, according to the scorecard.
Oh, if you want,
they only showed one score, so no, I don't know. I'm not really sure. They only showed one total. They didn't show the scorecard. Didn't really.
I thought Kamal won. Enough like people who aren't dumb after coming out of prejudge and we're talking about Sean, that I knew it was like remarkably close. You know what I mean? I mean, you can't leave a prejudge and have people who have good eyes saying, "Oh, I got Clarita." So,
Right.
you know, I knew that it was going to be super close.
I couldn't to tell you on the live stream. I couldn't tell probably the way you guys could. I wasn't sure, to be honest, because Kamal looked he's big. Kamal's a lot bigger than Clarita is, and so I actually thought Kamal might have gotten the nod after prejudging because of his size difference. When I started analyzing, when I saw these pictures that went up on our site, I was like, holy mackerel. I didn't realize how freaky, grainy, Clarita was too,
Yeah, no, he looked
It didn't translate.
It was an unbelievable, battle, without a doubt. I mean, it just,
people were praising Dexter, because Dexter's a legend now. He's the most winningest bodybuilder of all time. He's been doing it longer than anyone else. He's 51. He retired. Kamal is 50, and he's still at the top of his game.
Yeah,
right?
Kamal's 49.
He's going to be 50, right? In a month or so or something?
No, he'll be 50 like in a few months.
Oh, okay.
So he's 49, and he weighed in the heaviest in the class, and he has the most details. I don't know if that makes sense to you. Details.
He's unbelievable that his skin is so good too. It's unreal.
Yeah, his back double was really good. His side tricep was a knockout shot. Side chest, really remarkable. Back double, super crazy glutes, Christmas tree. I mean, he looked fabulous.
I mean, it was really a good top two in that 212. Actually, it was not just the top two, but the whole class was good. But
yeah.
I mean, a battle. I mean, it had to be exciting being there, watching them two. I'm sure you were screaming your head off, right?
Well, no, because they played so much music. It's so loud, which was actually enjoyable. The music was fantastic. The way this.
Yeah, I noticed it. It's not the typical annoying music they used to play, right?
They put so much thought into the show. Like when prejudging was going on, they just played music that got you into the prejudging, and it was loud. But
I didn't know you could hear that. I thought they were just piping it through the live stream.
Could never yell. No one could ever hear you say tighten your abs or something like that. People could never yell. Hear it. But it was great because the prejudging was great, and even the finals was great because Weinberger, tried to kill them. He just, it was, he tried to kill him in prejudging with the comparisons. And then at the night show, he did the same thing. They just went over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And they did that too with the open, but more with the 212, especially Sean and Kamal. So, you can't, someone's got to win, someone's got to lose. And especially, it's not like they compared them once and said, oh, we got a 1-point decision. We compared them times. They compared them over and over and over.
No, I was watching it. It was great. Chris Bumstead defends his title as Classic Physique Olympia champ. We suspected that was going to happen, but you know what? He did bring more muscle, more improvements, great conditioning. Well-deserved, Chris.
These pictures don't do him justice. If you think Ramy's dominant, Chris Bumstead Chris has improved his physique as much as Clarita has improved his physique in the last 3 years. Chris, if you pick up a bodybuilding magazine, if you're a 15-year-old kid and you see Ramy in it, you just would they don't have magazines, of course. But you would look at pictures of Ramy as like some space alien and say oh, that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
You look at pictures of Chris and you say, I want to look like that.
With that
And that's
mustache, he
why
really
I don't
does look like a
see-
three. He looks like Rory Liedermeyer, doesn't he?
Dave, he made so much improvements. He used to have like fat glutes, and now they're like rock hard. He used to have no back, and now it's becoming a very, very, very powerful body part for him. His biceps used to be smallish. They're not. He's improved. So he had to have straight ones, right?
Yeah, he did.
His side is off the hook. Off the hook. And his front lat spread is the best in the sport right now.
Really?
Open. Oh, the way when he hits it, you may not be able to tell from pictures, but when he hits it, the way it opens up and the pecs fill out, and he's got the vacuum on it. That's a killer shot. 3/4.
That's a great shot, right?
Height to his advantage. His color was the best. Ramy's was his second best color. Phil's color, by the way, at the night show was a disaster.
He looked like he had makeup. He looked like he had makeup on. What was going on with him?
He didn't. He looked like he had snow tan on, and we used snow tan for Hakeem and
no, it looked. He looked like he had like makeup on him rather than a.
He didn't have enough
rather
oil
than
either. He made
I don't know.
Look at that back shot on
look at those glutes, and hamstrings. Blackman must be going nuts with those glutes.
And I mean, he's improved.
I'll make you a star. Steve, I already am a star. Oh, okay.
No, he's. I can't say enough. Like, I was so impressed with Chris Bumstead. I was like,
he could really rule that class for as long as he wants. I mean, because no one's built like this guy. Even when Amanda passed by, she's like, no one's like that.
The guy who got fifth, Chris better not sleep on the guy who got fifth. Terrence Ruffin. So you got to talk about the guy who got fifth, Dave. I forget it's Chris something. Chris.
I'll pull it up.
I think if I was coaching Chris, I'd probably just take him right to the Open. That's how good he is.
You think? I wanted to ask you that. How would Bumstead do in the Open?
He would. They would say he's too small. But he'd, with 10 pounds, good. With 10 pounds, good, but everyone would do good with 10, right? That's
Brian. Oh, you're talking about Brian Jones?
The guy he had like purplish, blue, pinkish
hair.
Yeah,
Brian Jones. He's a freak. I interviewed him last week. He was phenomenal.
This guy
phenomenal
is beyond phenomenal. Beyond. He's not phenomenal. I text Jose. I said, I said, this guy's dangerous for Chris or dangerous for Ramy, wherever which way he wants to go. Just being facetious, but I mean, he just speaks of.
I just interviewed him. Great interview. If you guys catch that interview on our YouTube channel.
Training a year. How long has he been training?
He's been training, but he hasn't been competing for a long time.
He was
phenom,
phenom poser, phenom presentation, phenom.
You got to look at his Instagram. He does like makeup, and he's a makeup artist. I think he used to work for like Mac or something like that. He's got all kinds of like very creative stuff going on in his life.
People don't know what Mac is, Dave. They know what Estee Lauder is.
My sister was a makeup, sold makeup, so I know all the brands.
Mac, I think, was one of the premier first black makeup.
Oh, was it really? Is that where it started? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I mean, it's for black people. But I think I'm going to sell my snow tan product to Mac.
I think Michael Jackson already invented the snow tan product.
Listen, Terrence Ruffin. I've been a fan of
Rough Diesel. Ruffin. Second place beats Breon Ansley. Was that the right decision?
Yep.
Really?
Terrence Ruffin I can remember seeing pictures of Terrence Ruffin maybe 3 years ago. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The first Classic Olympia Terrence Ruffin was in.
I remember we were sitting next to each other.
And I was helping Arash, who got second, who everyone thought could have won easily. And I thought, I scanned left and I scanned right. And I said, the best body in this lineup is this guy who's like 123
You did.
pounds.
You said that to me.
He weighed nothing.
It's like 176 or something like that, right? Or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, I think way less than that. And
maybe you're right. Maybe it was like 154 or something. Maybe it was like a lightweight or something like that. Yeah.
And he got totally overlooked. And I was thinking, this is the most dangerous guy in this lineup. And lo and behold, that was, I don't know how many years ago, but here he is. And this guy exposes people to the max. I thought he should have won the Arnold last year. When we did the wrap-up, I said, when they came out on stage, I had great seats at the Arnold, the COVID Arnold, where there were no people in the audience, so I could sit. Unlike Dan Solomon, who gives me best seats in the house, the only way I got him at the Arnold was when there was no one there, and I get to sit row 2. And I remember when Steve Laureus came out, and Steve is supposed to be the classic guy, and when Ruffin came out, I thought, show's over, no one's going to beat him. And he did end up, I think, second at that show, and he gets second here, and he's got the right tie-ins, the right detail.
He's a great poser too. Great poser.
Oh, great presentation. He's remarkable, and the only thing that's keeping him, the only thing between him and the title is Chris Bumstead at this show.
That's a big impediment. It's a very big impediment.
Or Chris, if this rough diesel would have beaten Chris 2 years ago, that's how much Chris has improved. So if this rough diesel showed up in this type of condition 2 years ago, he'd beat Chris Bumstead. That's how impressive he is.
Right. Well, they both improved tremendously. I think that's the real key. And if you don't make improvements, then you fall by the wayside. That's really what it amounts to. Yeah.
I mean, the classes, top 5 were really good, and Breon is,
what does Breon do now? What does he do? I know he had hinted he might want to go to open bodybuilding. I don't know if that's something.
He can't. He gets spanked in open. He's like a 212 guy.
He's not big. Or that's what I meant. Sorry, I'm sorry. 212 he was talking about doing.
Yeah, I mean, because he's at this, he's up against, he looked great at his best. There's just something about, what's about second and first is they have, I hesitate to use it because it implies that Breon doesn't have a good structure, because he has a great structure. They have structures that are like rubber stamped for this division.
Yeah, I agree.
They're just, Chris has the broad shoulders, tiny waist, height, and then your eyes go to Rough Diesel, who he's got detail, small hips and small waist. It plays a huge role for him looking way bigger than he does.
Yeah.
And then you have Breon, who has more muscle and for sure than Rough Diesel, but the structure is different.
Yeah.
And it comes down to like a structure show, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, that's what classic is. That's what classic is. Breon, that's the thing that I feel bad for him is, number one, he's a former champion, obviously 2-time champion, but he's so good here. Like there's nothing he could have done better. He's a great poser. He's in great shape. Cormier helped him, with every little nuance of presentation. There's nothing he could have done better. So therefore, there's nothing he shouldn't even feel bad about not winning or placing third, because there's nothing he could have done better. He
was 100% banging on the money, 100% peak perfect for his body. You know what I mean? No water retention, no body
No.
fat, no sense of flatness. And it's this what it is. And then you have like who ended up fourth, Dave?
Fourth place was it's skipping my mind. Oh, Alex Cabernero.
Yeah, who had won the Arnold. He's lucky to have slid by the Mac makeup guy.
Yeah, I don't know how he beat him, actually, to be honest with you.
Look at Breon there. That's a tremendous back double bicep. Tremendous. And he's probably, you can look at that back double, and then you can look at, I can be Breon myself and look at that back double, and then I can look at the back double of Chris in a picture by himself and the back double of Rough Diesel and say, I got them there. There's more muscle in there, probably, and as much, if not more detail, but it comes down to structure. And it sounds like it's insulting to Breon, like he doesn't have a great structure, because he does.
Well, he's also restricted. He can't gain any more weight, this guy. So, I mean, you might as well move up to the 212 at that point. Now, what happened to Logan Franklin?
He's Logan Franklin. I mean, I mean, was he expected to beat Breon?
Well, I don't know. People were talking about him as, and I thought he looked great in that win he had just recently.
Well, the problem is people are people, and they in other words,
people forget you got to also be compared to next to the best guys in the world. It's a lot different.
That's exactly what I mean. I mean, you can win a Tampa show or a New York Pro. You got to still go to the Olympia. And yes, he looks very good, but the guy, the Mac, give me because no one knows what's his name. So
Brian Jones. Brian Jones.
Are close. David. Brian Jones would punch.
Yeah.
And Logan Franklin looks great.
Yep.
He can do really good in a lot of shows, but it's the Olympia, and and these guys, these top three, just brought blazing condition. They brought it completely, and it's not that Logan did bring it, but it goes back to structure. But I mean, I think they've had more. They definitely more they have more detail than him, more muscularity than him. Where did Logan end up?
Ninth.
And give me who was 6th and 7th? Sorry.
7th place was Ricky Moten, and
Ricky was good.
Yeah, he was really good. And Danny Unin. Oh, yeah, Danny's always good.
Danny's always. I mean,
he's always shredded. Yeah.
Danny Unin has a tremendous physique, and he's he can't crack the top 7. The top 5.
I think he just needs more size, and I don't know if he even has the room to grow in that class because of the weight, height restriction. But anyway, we're running out of time here. Let's just go quickly. That's not the one I wanted to go to. I wanted to go to men's physique. Brandon Hendrickson puts it all together, wins, beats out the reigning champ Raymond Edmonds, and of course, our good friend Andre Ferguson wasn't even in the top group. Brandon has won the Olympia before. He's won the Arnold before. It was all about putting it together at the right time. And he was one of the most inconsistent men's physique guys. And I think he brought it, man. And when he brings it, he's almost impossible to beat. And he wins back the crown. So that's, I guess he's the first men's physique guy to re-win the Olympia after having lost it. So congratulations to him. Women's bodybuilding. I know you were impressed as I was with Andrea Shaw, who won that thing. She's definitely the future of that division, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, she looked, she had, she was just a hard, lean, looked right, quote, right in the front double. You know what I mean? Look, her hamstrings and, her legs from the side were fantastic.
She's got fresh muscle too. It's something we haven't seen in that division for.
I was going to say fresh. She looked young, and her muscle looks fresh, like new. She was really impressive. Iris, Kyle, what happened to Iris, Dave? I didn't. Really
At least from my inside sources, Iris was sick. And let me just get a picture of Andrea up there, just so we can put that up there for her. Yeah. Oh, that's not her. Definitely not her. All right, there's Andrea. And Iris got very sick. Had to go to the emergency room. That's how sick she was. I don't know exactly what was wrong with her, but I don't know if it was breathing related or circulatory related. But if Iris had to go to the hospital and pull out of the show, believe me, she was very sick, and I'm concerned for her. Obviously, I said a couple of prayers to myself for her because I love the girl, and she's a true great person. And I suspect we'll see her back next year, but I'm sure I'll get the story from her. Hopefully I'll get an interview from her too once she's feeling better. But she had to pull out. But Andrea Shaw, the new Miss Olympia. So she won the Rising Phoenix and the Miss Olympia. She probably made, aside from Big Ramy, she probably made more money in the last 2 weeks than everyone else in the show, which is great, which is a testament to how Jake is actually doing what he says he's doing. He's supporting the sport of women's bodybuilding.
Yeah, add it up. How much total what did she win here?
I don't know what the exact amount was, to be honest with you, but she won over 200 grand definitely in the last 2 weeks. So. Yeah, that's the way it should be. Why should the women make less than the men? Really, when you think about it, I know the men supposedly bring all the people in, blah 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 blah, but maybe it's because they don't really promote the women as much because they think the men bring in more people. I don't know. Bottom line is Jake Wood is a woman bodybuilding supporter. He saved women's bodybuilding. So believe me, these women are going to be greatly rewarded when it's all said and done. And that's a great thing. Missy Truscott upsets Oksana Grishina in that Miss Fitness Olympia. And, I was upset at first because Oksana has by far the best routine. I don't know if you saw the routine. I don't know if you were there. It blew me away. I loved it. And the problem was her physique just didn't look that great. She was in shape, but she kind of had like a very blocky waistline. And, if you come in fourth or whatever, I think she was fourth or fifth in the physique round, even though it only counts as the 30 you score, and you win the physique and the fitness routine round, and then you have a girl like Missy Truscott who's right behind you, in the fitness round, and then she wins the physique round. Mathematically, she won, and so I can't even be mad. And I know Oksana's not mad, but it was great to see her back on stage because she was the old Oksana in terms of her routine, at least, and it made the night that much more exciting.
Yeah, I mean, you know what, Dave? The entire night was. This was my favorite Olympia to attend because it started off with the press conference, which was positive, and I think that the press conferences should be positive, and they've always been like this WWE negative cesspool. It was just really, and I think some of it was by design, by Jake dropping the hammer and said, let's do a press conference that is positive. Uplifting, and I think a lot of it is COVID related because people are just relieved, including the athletes, that this show actually happened because, as you know, 6 weeks ago came like this close to being canceled.
Yep.
And new owners, you can feel it's palpable that David Pecker never could give two craps about bodybuilding. Probably doesn't even know the difference between a bench press and a squat. And Jake Wood told the story when he took the stage. Besides, I want to make this sport for the bodybuilders because they're the ones. I mean, I wanted to own the Olympia because I wanted to do something good for the bodybuilders and equally as important, good for the audience because with no audience, there is no bodybuilding shows. But he told the story which is interesting. I never knew how he got involved with bodybuilding. Which, he was a kid like everyone else reading magazines, and he lived near WIDA headquarters. and he used to ride his bike over when he was 15.
Wow.
40 years ago, he used to ride his bike over to the WIDA headquarters to watch the people go in and out. Can you imagine, like, the bodybuilding?
That's
said,
awesome.
I probably saw, at some WIDA out.
Right.
So
yeah, that's awesome.
He loves bodybuilding. He must have a big checkbook because he underwrote the stage was the best stage ever.
I saw it I was watching the live stream. It was amazing. Yeah. It looked like the Academy Awards.
The production value was the best ever. The music, the sound system, the lighting was really good. You just can't say it just felt like as someone like who's been to these Olympias for years and years and years, that a lot of thought was put into it, and it's so refreshing,
Yeah,
I mean, I can't believe
imagine.
had the best, honestly, Dave, best seats in the house.
I'm so glad that I got to thank Dan Solomon for for giving us such great access. But I knew he would. He told me he would. So and he's a man of his word. I don't want to miss a couple of these houses. To me, the whole show was very well done, and I thought the judging was great. However, I can't not mention this. I thought the worst decision maybe in a very long time that we've seen on the judging panel. How does Shanique Grant lose the women's physique Olympia? Chris, were you there? Were you watching?
Okay,
how does this physique lose? Put those glasses on. Come on.
I put my Lee Priest glasses on. No. I'll imitate I'll do a Aceto. He puts his glasses on like in the morning.
By the way, Lee loves you. I got to tell you. Whenever we talk, he always speaks very highly of you.
I'll tell you how. It was a decision that shocked people. I watched.
It was only a 1-point decision, first of all. So a lot of the judges thought she did win. So,
I'll just tell you. I know. But we had the Electoral College, which is the judges, and we have the audience, right? And we have the competitors. I watched the show, and I just watched the show. I didn't pay like great attention, other than to say, Shanique looked great, right? So, thank you, Dan Solomon. I actually had, can you believe it, a backstage pass. What a novelty that is. So I figure I'll go backstage. So when I went backstage, really, like, a lot of the open guys were there, and you just heard like a gasp. And of course, I don't know what's going on. I said, "What happened? What happened?" And a few people back, "What happened? What happened was Shanique, lost by a point, and people were surprised enough to like gasp."
Well, what do you think? I mean, what do you make of that? I mean,
I don't know what to make of it. Because I don't know if I'm biased so much that I'm just,
There's no bias. It's like the girl's, she is what she is. I mean, come on. There's no bias. She's amazing.
A lot of titles changed hands.
I know, but they deservedly changed hands. This was not, and I really like Sarah Villegas. I've interviewed her before. I'm going to get her on the show this week, hopefully. I think she was as shocked as everyone else was. She didn't know what to say. She said, "I'm speechless," because I don't think she in a million years thought she was going to win that show.
Yeah, I mean, I just.
The only bad decision of the weekend. Everything else was done very well, I gotta say. But I'm flabbergasted. Things like that, it's unbelievable.
Well, maybe we need for that division a People's Choice Award to dampen the blow or something.
Look, I'm sure Shanique is going to take it within stride, but she really did not deserve to lose that show. I mean, look, if she would have been off, If she would have had if she would have had a bubble gut, I would have said fine, fine. But the girl's not only does she have a great, she's got the best waistline in the entire show. There's not a figure girl who has a better waist than she does.
Yeah, it's
unbelievable.
I mean, when people gasp, I'm not kidding, Dave. Like people like backstage, what happened? What do you mean? What happened? What happened? What happened? What happened? I swear, Dave. You know, the woman went before the. I knew Kamal was going to lose at that point. How crazy is that?
You know it went so late. I forgot the 212 guys went.
What's that?
I said it went so late the show that on Friday night, after the men open went, that I forgot that the 212 would go. I shut it off. People are texting me, what do you think about this and this? I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, the 212 is on. I'm like, oh, shit. I forgot about it. But
it was a long night. It was a long night, and people complained. Some people complained, and I was like, come on, dude.
I think they jammed a little too. They should have started at 5 o'clock. They started too late.
Who cares?
All right, let me just show one more. Janet Leigh won the bikini. She finally, you and I have been saying that. I mean, I don't know if you are, but I've been saying that she should have won for 5-6 years already. This girl should have been Miss Olympia. So happy. So congratulations, Janet. Really, really good victory here. The bikini. I got to be honest with you. I can't tell. I know she's the most beautiful up there, and she looks like a model. That's why I think she's great. But a lot of these girls, they're all beautiful. They're all got great physiques. It's very hard to decipher in bikini who the winner should be. Sydney Gillen obviously repeated in figure. That's easy. Yeah. That's easy. But bikini, the girls are all very similar to each other. And that's because it's not a muscle contest,
Yeah.
What did you think?
I mean, that's.
I know you like Sydney Gillen in figure here, who won.
Yeah.
Because I remember the first time she ever competed, you were going crazy, saying she's going to be Miss Olympia.
V-taper. She's in a league by her own right now.
She comes from a family of bodybuilders. You know that?
Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah.
You told me that. They got to be happy, proud of her. She's got the package, talk about total package. Total package, and she's how do you improve on that? Get your delts a little bit bigger, or
Latoya Watts. Yeah, Latoya Watts did not do well, and I'm sure she was very upset. But I felt that she was not as. I don't know if the girls are getting bigger or if she was a little too. She was smaller than she normally was. I'm not really sure. But I love her physique, but she was just not. She was not there, which I thought she would be. But that's another. We could talk about that forever. I want to wrap this up. I want to just once again. Huge congrats. Oops, that's not the right picture. Huge congratulations to Big Ramy on his Olympia victory. He finally made it. He is the champ. And I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of Ramy in the future now. And we're going to have some great battles, Chris, coming up next year because there's going to be a lot of rematches from this Olympia. And that's what makes it that much more exciting, doesn't it?
Well, who's going to be the battle?
Well, everyone's going to be battling. You're going to have a ton of people coming back. You're going to have Rulli there. You're going to have Brandon Curry coming back. You're going to have, Bonac and the Akeem Williams coming into that mix. I mean, there's possibly Flex Lewis coming, right? Because he missed this year. Who knows who can show up? Maybe Sean Roden will be back. I think there's a lot of excitement. I think bodybuilding is getting exciting again.
Yeah. Well, I honestly believe, Dave, the best thing that's happened to this sport in a long time, and you know me, I'm critical as hell, is Jake Wood.
Yeah, he saved the sport. We said it before.
There's no way the show would have happened. To put the show on, you have to love bodybuilding. AMI would have just made a business decision and said, sorry, not this year.
Yep.
And the guy was supposed to have it in Vegas, and that got torpedoed. That was like an emergency mission to move it to Orlando.
Should they keep it in Orlando, Chris? I think they should.
There's nothing wrong with keeping it in Orlando. I think after seeing what they did in Orlando, I think there's no limitations on the location. I think that if they wanted to have it in Chicago, they could have it in Chicago.
Yeah, but the weather sucks there. I think that Orlando's got great weather.
Production value. I mean, New York City's
too expensive, Chris.
And it's a cliche, but I don't think if Jake didn't have it, it wouldn't happen, and if Jake didn't have the staff, it wouldn't happen.
Tamer and Tarek El Gunti, and
he picked the right person.
Tim Gardner.
He picked the right person in Dan Solomon to get it done.
The whole crew, though, it was a whole team effort.
I don't know the crew, but
the crew: Tarek and Tamer and Tim Gardner and
I know Tim, but they would name it in all night. The whole crew, the big crew, and I'm like, I don't even know. There's a giant list, but it was just such a positive weekend. The way they put it together, pulled it off. I think overall the judging was really good. They didn't rush stuff, which they haven't for quite a number of years too. But it just you could feel, when someone's passionate about something, due to the attention to detail, and every detail was covered. It was noticeable, and people probably think like, well, that's just because you're saying that. You got the best seats in the house. And that may be part of it, Dave, because I want those seats next year.
Well, thank you, Dan Solomon, Jake Wood, for rolling out the red carpet for us, and for the bodybuilding world in general. The live stream was phenomenal. I really have nothing bad to say about it. It worked well. I watched it the whole weekend from my phone. I was streaming it onto my 75-inch TV. It was like the best seat in the house I had.
Yeah, the last thing I think we missed. Did we talk about Dexter Jackson? No. Yeah, I just talked with Lee. It just ties in. I just wanted to add to the production value.
Yeah.
I'm sure Dexter probably knows at some point they're going to honor me, but the way they did it, they took a little break, but they had hiding behind a curtain, like his family and extended family.
Yeah, it was great.
Rushed the stage. That was genuine. Not, you know what I mean? There's no way he knew about it. It was really authentic.
Yeah, no, he had tears in his eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it reflects back on the people who are running the Olympia right now.
The Flex Wheeler Award they gave out for the Inspiration Award was great too. Flex had me in tears out there.
Yeah. Very good.
I mean, that was great. Everything they did was top notch, top shelf, and that's what the Olympia should be. It's the Super Bowl of our sport, and it's not about. Sometimes it's not about the profit. It's about making it the best it can be, because the profit will come, the money will come eventually.
They gave out the People's Choice Award to Ramy, and Dan told me they were thinking of giving out a Haters Award to me and you for saying that Ramy's crew looked panicked. I'm just kidding.
They wouldn't give the award. They wouldn't want to give us an award at all.
No, because I believer, and they gave out the. I was supposed to hand out the People's Choice Award, by the way.
I know what happened. Yeah, I was wondering that.
What happened was the guy handing it out, Romeo.
Yeah.
Couldn't get into the country because of like COVID restrictions.
No, I know that, but why didn't you hand it out?
Because at the last minute, he figured out a way how to get in due to COVID.
He did. Oh, he did get there. I didn't even realize that.
He came in on Saturday, like early morning, and I had my suit packed. And
he should have put Ruley Winkler in his freaking suitcase, because obviously Ruley couldn't get in here.
If they gave it to Phil, I was going to give it out to Phil and say something. And if they gave it to Ramy, I knew I was going to say something to get under Ramy. Just something fun to get under his skin.
Right. Thank God for Ramy that you didn't get to give it out.
text at the last minute. Sorry, Chris, you'll no longer be handing out the People's
You got
Choice Award.
fired.
So
You got fired. Yeah.
Sergio, I was sitting with Sergio, and I said, maybe we can give out the Haters Award.
Yeah. There you
There's
go.
a People's Choice Award for the most beloved for the show.
Sergio might have been up there for the Haters Award too. Yeah.
Yeah, he said, no. He said all the people from their basements who are like,
Yeah.
rep 400,
Yes.
Rep 400, who pretend
Yeah.
that they're.
You must be on
400.
some serious coffee because I can't function anymore. Like, I gotta wrap this show up. It's 3:30. Guys, just to let you know how hard Chris worked this weekend and how hard I worked, even though I was home. It's 3:30 in the morning right now. We're finishing this broadcast. Once again, big congratulations to all our winners. Big Ramy, new Mr. Olympia, and a lot of exciting things coming in the future. For now, though, we are out of time. Until next week, remember, with Heavy Muscle Radio,
The truth hurts.
good night, everyone, and I hope you had a great Olympia weekend.